Welcome to the second of 3 webinars that have been produced to support you as you start to return to school following COVID-19. I am Dr. Chloe Marks, Specialist Educational Psychologist, Peterborough Virtual School, and I am presenting this webinar with my colleague Cleo Allen, Psychology Assistant, Peterborough Educational Psychology Service. We recognise how much uncertainty and anxiety there is regarding the return of schools. These webinars have been created with that uncertainty in mind. Module 2, School Community Wellbeing, a Resilience and Recovery Model. This webinar focuses on both the welfare of children and school adults at a universal level, as school communities adapt to yet another change during the pandemic, returning to school. We know that periods of transition can be stress and anxiety provoking. In this situation, stress is a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. This will be a period of psychological and social adjustment for all, which can be supported by universal interventions. School approaches to recovery will be key to enabling stabilisation during and after this time of uncertainty and in the longer term, improving resilience in our communities.
As we have seen in Module 1, resilience is bouncing back from adversity. In children, young people and adults, it is a set of qualities such as social competence, problem-solving skills, self-esteem and confidence, and a sense of purpose in moving forward. There are many psychological models which could support resilience and aid recovery during this time. The following model has been chosen as an approach which could help to structure how schools can move forward in terms of positive mental health in the new normal.
The PERMA model, Seligman 2011, comes from the positive psychology tradition and is a useful model for well-being and resilience which can be applied to everyday life. It has 5 components. Let's explore what each of the components mean. P stands for positive emotions or feeling good. For example, promoting feelings of calm, enjoyment or optimism. Hope and optimism can be key to moving forward in adverse times. E is for engagement, being fully immersed, focused and involved in activities. Engagement is underpinned by a concept called psychological flow, coined by Csikszentmihalyi in 1988. This describes the positive mental state of complete focus and enjoyment in activities. Many people have experienced times when they are in the moment. This could be whilst they are enjoying doing a creative activity like music or art. This is what we call flow. R represents relationships, our meaningful connections with others. Research highlights how social support buffers our mental health. M stands for meaning, which is a sense of purpose for yourself, often towards a collective goal. A stands for achievement, or a sense of accomplishment. This is a very familiar concept to us in education. By focusing on these 5 components, Seligman proposes that applying this model can contribute to our overall happiness, restore our sense of purpose, and so impact on our well-being. So how does the PERMA model relate to recovery during COVID-19? Using the principles of the PERMA model as part of a whole school community recovery process could help to provide a sense of direction in terms of emotional well-being and a return to school and community stability over time. Recovery after COVID-19 could be an opportunity to focus on both post-adversity growth and long-term resilience. This webinar provides some ideas relating to how you could use this model at this universal level. Let's look at how we can use the PERMA model to provide psychological and social adjustment for children returning to school. The following are suggestions which you could adapt and add into for each of the 5 areas. To achieve positive emotions, you may consider how to create feelings of emotional security and calm. Re-establishing consistent and predictable routines can increase feelings of safety and security for children. You may wish to think about whole class opportunities to express emotions, such as emotional barometers or PSHE lessons, which enable children to develop awareness of their thoughts and feelings. For those children who find it difficult to identify and communicate their emotions, emotion coaching scripts, Gottman 1997 and Emotion Coaching UK, are an evidence-based way to scaffold children in understanding how they are feeling and how to manage this, in the short term, whilst also helping them to develop these skills over time. See the web link for further details. Many of our settings already use this approach. If you are interested, your Educational Psychology Service can also provide further information or training. At this time, a sense of hope and optimism are helpful in moving forward. How could you create a sense of optimism? Maybe you could plan positive events for the future which are child, school or community focused. These will have to be balanced with the current social distancing rules. In terms of engagement, evidence from enriched environment studies indicates that sensory or creative activities provides a sense of calm and enhanced focus. In line with the PERMA approach, reflecting on the new skills and knowledge children have gained whilst being at home could promote engagement with learning and school life. You could provide opportunities for children to use or celebrate these. Consider creative or open-ended activities which rely on children's strengths and interests, as this could enable emotionally safe opportunities for children to immerse themselves back into learning. Think about what activities could be flow experiences for children. With regard to relationships, provide time for children to socialise and catch up with their peers. Remember that without these opportunities, it may be more difficult to re-engage with academic activities. Again, consideration of current social distancing rules will need to be held in mind with any relational activities. Develop opportunities for children and adults to reconnect with each other. Make these playful and try to be in the present, even though this may be difficult with everything that is going on around you. The PACE approach, Hughes and Bailin 2012, focuses on developing a sense of security and resilience in children through nurturing interactions which are scaffolded by an adult. P stands for playfulness, which is calmly engaging with children in a fun way. A represents acceptance of a child's wishes and feelings as they experience them. C is for curiosity, which means adopting a non-judgmental attitude, looking beneath a child's behaviour and understanding what is going on for them. E stands for empathy, which is a compassionate approach to their experience. This nurturing approach strengthens connections between adults and children. See web link for further details of this approach, which could be useful at this time, particularly for our vulnerable children. You could consider acts of kindness for family members, peers and adults in school. For example, making things to take home or having responsibilities in school. Undertaking regular acts of kindness has been found to increase happy and feel-good hormones which impact on positive mental health. Think about how you could reconnect homeschool communications at this time to ensure that information is clear for all. Advice from the British Psychological Society and the World Health Organization suggests that clear information lowers stress. To re-establish a sense of belonging to the school community, you could use student voices to develop new school initiatives which could help recovery and provide a sense of purpose at this time. Try gratitude jars or journals of things children are thankful for at this time. Evidence suggests that being grateful increases happiness and helps us to survive adversity. I know a lot of our schools engage in community-focused activities. These would be a good way of building social capital. Perhaps there are specific needs that have arisen in your community which you could address through charity actions or appreciation events. Children and adults could find a sense of meaning again through working together to support their communities. With regard to achievement, we know that transition periods are associated with decreases in educational attainment, and so we may feel we need to focus on academic skills. However, some children may have difficulty focusing or have difficulty coping with a whole school day again after time at home. Think about the nature of the activities you are delivering. If children are not at their optimal level of arousal, then they may have difficulty accessing their higher or thinking brains. Some of our children and adults may be in survival mode. Perhaps intersperse more creative, sensory and enjoyable activities whilst children are readjusting to school life again. As noted previously, this will help to provide a sense of calm, safety and promote focus. Some children may feel as though they have lost skills or confidence, influenced by their experiences during lockdown. They may find it difficult to readjust to academic activities in the current situation. Think about manageable activities in which children can accomplish something quickly and provide feedback so that children rebuild their confidence and self-efficacy. Consider pre-learning opportunities for children to remind them of knowledge and skills which they may have forgotten, and also over-learning activities to consolidate this learning again. We are used to providing this for children with additional needs, but there may be more children who may need this after a break in their usual learning, depending on their home learning, recent educational experiences or adverse experiences during the period of the pandemic.
Research supports the components of the PERMA model. In 2007, a group of international experts synthesized available scientific evidence to identify the 5 essential principles of psychosocial care relevant for those that have been confronted with disaster, tragedy, and loss. Their research suggests caregivers should promote feelings of safety, emotional regulation, self and collective efficacy, which refers to a self or shared belief that you can succeed, connectedness and belonging, and finally, a sense of hope. As a whole school, consider how you could use the PERMA model to begin planning your recovery at this time. What could you do for each of the 5 aspects at the whole school, community, class, and individual levels? Can you build on things that you're doing already? Could you use this as a daily or weekly model to plan in activities in each area? Or could you plan PERMA activities across a longer period of time? Spend some time thinking about this with your colleagues. You may wish to pause the webinar at this point to undertake the activity. We can also help to support adults in our school using the PERMA model. If you are concerned about a member of staff, then there are resources on the next 2 slides which can help adjustment during this time. Firstly, in terms of emotions, each school will have a different self-care and well-being strategies in place, which you should continue. You may wish to consider personal plans for staff. Be mindful of secondary trauma or compassion fatigue. This is when someone indirectly experiences trauma and is affected by the trauma of the person they are helping. This can result in difficulty focusing, emotional reactions, numbness, or fatigue. It can affect engagement with work. Often, staff in schools supporting vulnerable children experience this, and this may happen during the recovery period from the COVID-19 pandemic. In terms of engagement, provide opportunities for staff to share new skills they have learnt during COVID-19 and apply them at work. Many people will have helped others, recognized new coping skills and strengths, or engaged in flow moments. These should be celebrated. Research into large-scale disasters has identified the importance of a strong leadership team in supporting staff during and after these events. Supportive supervision, check-ins from line managers or peers, and end-of-day rituals or briefings to share experiences are all useful in providing staff with the knowledge that they are held in mind. Remember that social support buffers against adversity and improves well-being. What help-seeking strategies can your staff access? Could you organise social events to support staff? In terms of meaning, give clarity and expectations of staff roles when resuming normal working. Personal control reduces anxiety and stress, and a sense of fulfillment in your role increases job satisfaction. Evidence from large-scale events suggests that positive feedback from leaders for accomplishments in work is a protective factor in sustaining well-being. How could you celebrate the effort and successes of your staff? This image depicts the 7 components of psychological first aid. Psychological first aid is a humane, simple, and powerful way of helping someone in distress during and after a crisis like COVID-19. It involves paying attention to the person's reactions, active listening, and, if relevant, offering practical assistance to help address immediate problems and basic needs. This could be useful in supporting your colleagues. Psychological first aid comprises the actions that can be taken by any person without formal psychological or counselling training, making it a tool to be used by everyone. There is access to the Psychological First Aid Guide for field workers, which offers further details on this approach, available in the resources for this module. Along with the Psychological First Aid Guide, here are some other useful resources to support staff well-being from the Anna Freud Centre. These will be available in the resources section of the webinar notes. As a whole school staff, it may be helpful to take some time to reflect on your existing strengths, the support systems you already have in place for staff well-being, and any other ideas about how you could support yourselves and each other during this time. Please pause the presentation to take some time to reflect on these questions. Also noted on this slide is a Wellbeing at Work survey based on the PERMA model, which highlights areas of strength and development and may be useful in supporting your own well-being. Since the beginning of COVID-19, we have all been through an uncertain and difficult time. Many of us may have experienced difficulties adapting to the changes in our lives. However, there will have also been times when we have noticed and appreciated the little things, perhaps more than we usually do. It is normal for everyone to take time to readjust psychologically and socially following large-scale adversities. In the words of Roy T. Bennett, "When things do not go your way, remember that every challenge, every adversity, contains within it the seeds of opportunity and growth." Lastly, we would like to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to our webinar. We hope you'll go on to access the remaining modules. If you have any questions, comments or feedback, please feel free to use the email addresses outlined above. And finally, we'd like to wish you well during this period. Balancing our own needs with those of the children and young people we work with and the society we live in is never easy, and we hope you are able to remain mentally and physically resilient through the challenges ahead.